Hi, this is Jade Harrell, host and producer of Sunday Morning Live, and you're listening to the Sunday Morning Live podcast, a chance to get what you missed. Sunday Morning Live is a public affairs program designed to provide our listeners the latest information, news, and issues of concern for the St. Louis community, the nation, and the world. For booking information, questions, ideas, or comments, please contact me at 314-333-8369 or jade@clearchannel.com.
The all-new Magic 100.3 is KMJM FM, Bridgeton, St. Louis, an iHeart radio station. The views and opinions of the following show are not necessarily views and opinions of Clear Channel Media Entertainment, its staff, or management. We're addressing the issues that affect your family, the issues that impact St. Louis. It's Sunday Morning Live with your host, Jade Harrell, on the all-new Magic 100.3.
Here's another way to connect with us, listeners. Now, there is it says Sunday Morning Live, but we'll make those adjustments. We're only in week 2 on our Saturday offering. So if you go to KMJM.com, you can connect with us on the Sunday Morning Live page, where I will have the flyers and the links and the contact information of our guests. But to keep the conversation going, it's still only an hour, but to keep the conversation going, connect with us on Facebook, and that's SMLSTL. Fortunately, I use that acronym because it'll work for Saturday too. So from Facebook.com, SMLSTL. You'll also be able to hear the information again with the podcast. You'll be able to share that information with a simple click of the share button. You can even embed the interviews on your blogs or website to help us spread this great information, this necessary, vital information for our community. That's why we've been on for 30 years plus, and it's one of the last opportunities that we have to use and share our voice to make some great change and have some good going on here in our area that involves you. That's why the phone lines are open, 556-6100, 556-6100. Well, not only did Charles mention that it is Fair Housing Month, which is a great awareness, but it is also National Child Abuse Awareness Month. There is so much to this, and the numbers are actually very staggering. But I am joined here today because we're going to talk about it in a way to help understand what child abuse is, some of the symptoms that we can maybe even look for, and of course, how we can step in, intervene, make a difference, and put this thing to an end as much as possible. I am joined today by Miss Fawn Weber, family therapist at Epworth. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
I'm glad to have you in today. You got a shout out on our last segment. So give STL Day. You can know that the Epworth Children and Family Services group is an option to contribute on that day. So that's a wonderful idea. Tell us more so that we can know about Epworth.
Absolutely, and thank you for the shout out. We appreciate that for sure. Epworth Children and Family Services is a nonprofit youth development agency that helps children and families overcome severe emotional and behavioral challenges caused by abuse or neglect in the St. Louis community. Epworth has been around for 150 years. Yay, yes, 150 years. That's so awesome.
Kind of bittersweet, but glad that the need is still being met.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have a strength-based philosophy, so we're basing our approach to families based off of what they already have in place for them, and then try to address what their needs are based off of that. And we're trying to make families more successful, at-risk youth to be more successful, to develop into prominent or successful adults in their life. Annually, we serve 5,300 youth and families.
Wow.
And we are providing services that cover emergency shelters, residential and intensive treatments, family reunification therapies. There are transitional independent living skill facilities for children who are transitioning out of foster care and into the real world. So they need some help with that. Special education programs, foster care services. We do preventative services, which is the program that I'm a part of. And there's always a 24-hour helpline for youth and for families as well. So we cover a gamut of services for sure.
Absolutely. You mentioned that you help with severe child abuse, I guess overcoming and reacclimating to world and life, if that's possible. When let's do a little bit about Child Abuse Awareness Month, and then distinguish between child abuse that we would understand a generic definition and then severe in where you all provide the services.
Okay. So the definition of child abuse and neglect is actually very vague, purposefully so, because it covers a multitude of things. So it basically states by law, in the law, a recent act or failure to act on the part of a parent or a caretaker, which can result in death, serious physical or emotional harm, sexual abuse, exploitation, or an act of failure, an act of failure as a part of the parent, which presents an imminent risk of children. So those two, it's just kind of a scale, really. Either you're at imminent risk or some severe damage has happened. So the definition of it is very broad. We know that there are cases, or there's studies that have shown that abused and neglected children are 11 times more likely than non-abused children to be arrested for criminal behaviors,
of course,
as a juvenile, or 3 times as likely to be arrested for a violent or criminal behavior as a juvenile or an adult. 25% more likely to experience problems such as delinquency, teen pregnancy, and low academic achievement. 80% of young adults who've been abused meet the criteria for a psychiatric disorder before the age of 21. And that includes depression and anxiety, eating disorders, post-traumatic stress disorder. So it is, it is making an impact.
Sure.
For sure.
Oh, absolutely. And that is to be expected. I've learned in recent times that trauma is clearly associated with it. And, there's a new approach to focus on the traumatic effects of abuse and or neglect as well. We have an awareness, a national awareness, because the numbers are tremendous. And the group, you said 5,300 just this year? You're talking about from January till now, or was that 2013?
It was 2013.
That's huge.
Right.
Okay, so you focus in and you work in the preventative.
Yes.
In the area of prevention.
Yes.
Talk to us about how we can prevent.
So being aware of symptoms of child abuse is also important. So if
Let's start there then.
Yeah, if you're out and about and you see things going on, so a lot of our referrals come from professionals, schools or hospitals, or
they know what to look for.
They know what to look for, and they're interacting. But in your neighborhoods, you can see the same things as well.
Well,
you might.
We do. Here the reason why I said that. And this is what I've encountered, and I think my antennas are very sensitive. I can hear it in the cry of a little one, or in the tone of a parent or whoever's the caregiver, and it'll stop me in my tracks.
Yeah.
But what happens is I don't know what to do or say at that point, and you can end up. Gosh, there's just so many things that run through your mind that could happen. If I say something, they'll kick my butt. Or if I do something, it can make it worse for the kid. So really, this is of key interest for me, and especially in the African American community, where our acceptance of some things, I grew up, my grandma would take a switch to my behind, and say it takes a village to raise it, because then so would Miss Susie down the block. She may not take a switch, I'll tell you, grandma,
right?
But you there's a sensitivity, I guess, is to some. I say all that to say there's a sensitivity between whether or not I'm acting in help and prevention, or if I'm intrusive and interrupting. So if you could help us with that as well. But again, what signs are we looking for? We said we could see it in our community. What do we see? What should we look for?
Well, you actually gave one of the best indicators that something might be going on, which is your internal gut reaction.
Oh, wow.
If you're a parent, right? As
5 children.
Right,
yes,
right. So even if you don't have children, you have a natural ingrained feeling, that gut reaction that will tell you something's wrong. something's not right. It doesn't feel right. I'm suddenly scared, or I'm suddenly very uncomfortable, or I'm afraid for that child. That instinct to want to go help that child, like, what do I do? If you're having that feeling, you need to follow that gut reaction, because something might actually be wrong, and you might actually only be seeing or hearing the surface of what's happening. So especially if it's out and about. I know, isn't that scary?
There's a few things that are scary. One is that when I have that gut feeling, it's usually on something extreme. What about those subliminal and not so obvious things that are going on and those signs? We've seen the numbers, but then where are the alarms and the feeling sensitivity to the people that are abusing and neglecting our children? Why aren't they working in them? And so those are the things that, for me.
Well, and that's where our program comes in beautifully, because our program is designed to help families and parents raise that level of alarm, to recognize what imminent risk is. What does imminent risk even mean?
What does it mean?
Imminent risk, it's essentially, there's a lot of characteristics to it, but essentially is when there are a certain amount of things that are kind of building up, whether it's poverty or it's mental illness, or those kind of things put children at a risk for child abuse and neglect. So if those factors are in place, unfortunately, it raises the possibility that child abuse is happening. So our program addresses those things and tries to raise what we call protective factors. So what are the things that are going to protect children? Such as addressing mental health issues in the home, whether it's the child's mental health or it's the parent's mental health. And by doing that, again, we're either offering the counseling that's necessary, or we are reaching out into the community to get the team approach, to get them the support and the services that they need for that. Other protective factors that we utilize is teaching parents what developmental levels are going to look like in children, because sometimes you're like, I'm sure parents are thinking, was that normal?
Yes.
That doesn't seem right. Or why isn't my kid doing this yet, but I see all these other kids doing that? So those are some things that we can address and just normalize it and say, well, that was normal. You're right. That kind of fits into the normal categories. And again, connecting the families to their community.
Give me an example how you would help a parent with that. You mentioned that you have these resources, awareness, and helping parents understand, and maybe addressing some things like poverty and mental health. Does someone connect with you by coming in or calling, and then you have a program in place? Tell me how it's implemented there at Epworth.
Okay, so we have we have an intake process. So whoever wants to make the referral, and families can make the referral themselves. They can call in and say, I really would like to get some services in place. I'm having trouble with my child, or I'm stressed out and I need some help. And then we provide weekly in-home counseling to families. So we are in their houses, which is also a beautiful thing, because everybody's going to be themselves in their house.
Much more so than in an office or clinic.
Absolutely. So we're going to see it and be in the thick of it, which is helpful. And then we are working with them on, essentially we do an assessment. So we just kind of figure out what the needs are, what their strengths are, and what kind of goals they want to have. That is the client. They are telling us what they need help with. And then from there, we begin services, and it just depends on what their need is.
Well, let me ask, with the need being so great, then is there one area when it comes to child abuse and neglect that you see one being a bigger problem than another? Is that possible?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, it's neglect. Yeah, it's neglect.
How so?
Most of the time with neglect, you're dealing with kids who are families who are unfortunately struggling with poverty, do not have access to community resources, or don't know what community resources are available. And by that I mean, even if it's state resources, welfare, food stamps, unfortunately the criteria for food stamps changes a lot. Yeah. So, we've worked with families where sometimes they have food stamps and they have food in their home, and then within 6 months that policy changed, and for some reason they don't qualify either for as much and suddenly they don't have food in the house as often as they need to. And, then they're reaching out to family, or they just don't even know where to go. So at that point, we'd be like, well, let's find the nearest food pantries near you.
Food, right.
And let's figure out how you can get there. If that means bus passes, or does that mean we got to find rides with your friends or things like that. So
I see where this could affect the mental health of the parents and the family, just the state of being. And I'm sure that that's increased with the changes in economy and changes in opportunities for folks, changes in education as well. Are there some creative initiatives or some things that you may be doing differently to make some of those connections? I can understand. So I see that by listening to your example. So we had food and we were trying to get along and make things happen, but now all of a sudden we don't have that resource. Children are hungry. I have bills pressing. I'm getting stressed. Stress causes tremendous other health ramifications. Tell me some of the things you all may be doing to kind of circumvent this in a way that may not be traditional. Instead of just pointing to, hey, you can just go get some food stamps. Do you have some things and some creative ways that you're working with families?
It is so individual per family. It is so individual per their already existing support system. It is dependent upon the neighborhood that they live in and what resources are available. The county, St. Louis County versus St. Louis City.
What do you do if you're not in the area or nowhere or have a way to connect them? They don't have access to something in the area that you may be able to address. So
part of our job, other than counseling, is to do the case management part of things, which is to link families to the resources that they need. Nice. So even if that means let's make a plan for how you can go get to this pantry, which unfortunately may be 20 miles away. Do you need bus passes? So if you need bus passes, how do we get you bus passes? That's right. What are your resources for that? If you don't have the income for it, are there people that will help you? Are there people that you can call on for rides? Are there people that owe you rides?
Right.
Call
on your favors.
Absolutely. When you were at your highest and you were helping people, who are those people now that you can turn to? And really try to, again, the family is the expert on what's going on with them and who their resources are. So if we can kind of tap into and let them know that that's okay to do that, it's really okay. It does take a whole village.
It does. Well, see, that's what I feel like from this conversation is the biggest part of the awareness that you've provided is not just the awareness of child abuse and neglect, but the causes of and the impact of and how complete and holistic it is.
It is holistic. It's okay. That was the right word.
I know, but when I think holistic, I'm thinking green and growth and helpful. How much it encompasses and how many things are impacted by it. And to know that Epworth deals with all of those areas is very vital. So how can we help support, and then also how can our listeners connect? You guys have a couple of more minutes till 8 o'clock, 556-6100 if you have a question for Fawn. But Fawn, let us know how we can help and how folks can get help.
Okay, absolutely. So I would tell, folks out there that if you are struggling with questions about your kids, or you're stressed out, or you're challenged about how you're going to make your next day be awesome, certainly you can call our services, call our agency. The phone number for that is 314-961-5718. You can also email us. You can use the website at epworth.org, EPWORTH.org. And certainly just explain to the people answering the phone what the situation is, and they will guide you to the correct services that we have. It's out there.
Are you also a United Way agency?
We are a United Way agency.
If you call 211, you can ask for Epworth, and they will also direct you there. There is no need to suffer alone or go through anything anymore without at least making one call or one attempt to ask for help. We are here for that, and we expect that you will be able to find it with all the efforts that folks like Epworth and Give STL Day and many others, whoever the 528 organizations are that are trying to make a difference here in the community. Thank you again, Fawn.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Taylor, for keeping me connected to this great community stuff. Got another reminder for you all, though. You want to connect with us, please make sure you like our Facebook page. I know young people say, well, we're not on Facebook, we're on Instagram. Well, then show me how to do the Instagram, and we'll create an Instagram. But from Facebook.com, for those of us who are seasoned, or maybe my grandma's on Facebook, so you know the young people are like, we're out of here. Yeah. Facebook.com, go to SMLSTL, in order to like the page and be able to get the podcast, get the information you need, and share this information. Keep the conversation going. A reminder, on Saturday, and I expect and hope to see you there at Creve Coeur Lake Memorial Park. We'll meet at the Tremaine Pavilion. Remember, the young ladies, the sisters of Moving Forward Ministries, are having their annual Stroll to Heal the Soul Run and Walk, the second annual, breaking the silence of sexual assault, one step at a time. I am very excited to be there, to get around the lake. I'm expecting we'll have beautiful weather. I want to give you the phone number there so that you can register and make sure you'll be a part. It rained last year, but you know what? So what? We were out there with umbrellas, and we did stroll, and we understand that need. It's also sexual abuse aware. There's so much abuse. My gosh, if we're not all under stress, I'd be surprised to find out how that's possible and what we need to do to make sure. But there is a registration blitz that was going on. You can find more at Moving Forward STL with the number 4, Moving Forward STL.com for more information there. And is there a phone number? Let's see if I can help you with that. Well, I don't want to give sister's cell phone number. Let's have you contact us if you need to. Just give me a call at 333-8369 on our message box, and I'll make sure you get connected. So right after Saturday Morning Live, we'll pop on over to Creve Coeur Lake and walk and continue to bring awareness as well to sexual assault and abuse. So I'll open the phone lines for the last 4 minutes. If you'd like to pop in a question or announcement, 556-6100, 556-6100. We'll be right back. Just popping on the phone lines real quick before we go. We got about 2 minutes to take your call. Good morning. Question or comment?
I just want to make a comment about the child abuse neglect that you got through talking about.
Yes, sir.
Could you repeat that number? I never got that number. I believe it's very helpful for the community. I like to spread that word and do my part also.
All right. Praise God for that. Okay, the group is called Epworth Family and Children Services, and their phone number is?
314-961-5718.
5718?
Mm-hmm.
96157. Okay, I just want to spread the word in my church so that we can get the word spread out and do my part.
Well, do this. Go to the page to get the links and share the info, man. Share it. Share it.
What's the page?
SMLSTL. S is in Saturday, M is in morning, L is in live, STL.
SMLSTL.
That'll do it.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate you for helping.
Oh, give thanks. I'm thankful to know that on Saturdays you guys are up and receiving us real nice.
All right, thank you. God bless.
You too, sir. All right, well, then we'll just keep it going. This is good news. I can't wait to tell my boss. But you got some more great music coming up, and enjoy this weekend, this beautiful weather, and every bit of life and breath and strength that you have today. Until next time, be blessed, do bless, and bless the Lord. You all take care. Sunday Morning Live has been a cornerstone of the St. Louis community for over 30 years. In-studio guests include community organizations, political experts, professionals, and celebrities. Sunday Morning Live gives listeners the opportunity to dialogue with our guests and express their opinions. Take part, share your voice, and become connected. Be sure to check out our blog at kmjm.com, keyword Sunday Morning. Like us and follow us on Facebook at SMLSTL, and keep the conversation going. Sunday Morning Live on Magic 100.3.
You've been listening to Sunday Morning Live, a public affairs program of the all-new Magic 100.3. The views and opinions of today's show were not necessarily the views and opinions of Clear Channel Media and Entertainment, its staff or management. Thank you for listening.